Hi, welcome to the Ellis Talker Show. I'm DV LeBron. Today, my very special guest is Miss Jennifer Salzman, who is the executive director of The Heights in Midlothian. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing good.
So I wanted to have you on because I went to the ribbon cutting of, and I've heard that you guys were. I saw the sign and I saw in there, and I wasn't quite sure what you did, and then I saw it, and I absolutely love it, and I want to get the word out about it. So thank you so much for coming on and giving me your time, ma'am.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's so
Oh,
great to be able to spread the word.
yeah, we got to spread the word. This is good stuff. So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into the heights?
Sure. Like you said, I'm Jennifer Salzman, executive director, also kind of founder, if you will. My family has kind of put the beginnings together to get this started. I am married. My husband is a Fort Worth police officer. And thankfully, our lives have come together. He also works in family violence and crimes against children and works at a sister family justice center. So it's nice to have that in our household. I've got two boys, one's in college and one's about to be a senior in high school, and I'm super excited about them and really just chasing this, following this leading that the Lord has in my life right now of what's going on here at the Heights.
So one thing that I love is when people and I have people to come on the show all the time. I love when people talk about purpose, and some people get purpose in many different ways. For me, like you, like it sounds, I'm a believer. God put purpose in my heart to be kind to folks and do good when I can. And for you, it sounds like he's got something similar. So how did this heights concept come to be?
Yeah, so kind of intense. My mom came out of domestic abuse as a child. And so, unfortunately, there were not a lot of social services at that time. And it's not something that she really processed well. And so, part of her coping was to talk about it. So, in my household growing up, there was very fluid language about this issue. And so, my family has a really big sensitivity toward it, and our family owns a cabinet company. And so over the years, we have put cabinets in women and children's centers and shelters around the Metroplex. And so that's kind of how we got involved originally with this was, using the company we had and what could we do to impact those who are most vulnerable, who are dealing with these issues. And then fast way forward, I have two older sisters, and unfortunately, my oldest sister found herself in a really bad situation that turned an abusive. And so, really walking alongside her and her kids, our whole family, it was by far the most spiritual warfare thing I have ever been a part of, ever witnessed. And just every tragic thing that could possibly happen happened. And unfortunately, as part of their story, kind of during their divorce process, having nothing to do with it, completely fluke accident, their 15-year-old son passed away. And in the middle of that is really what I didn't have the language for at that moment, but what I know now is I became a case manager that night. We lost my nephew, and kind of working that scene, and here's law enforcement and here's the multiple families and the dynamics, and how do you do all of this, right? And so it really turned our family's conversation to what if our own family, what if my sister and her kids didn't have us, what if they lived in a community where they didn't have a support system, what would they have done? And so literally our family decided, hey, let's get involved in Ellis County. We live in Ellis County now, and we haven't done any work. And so I thought 5.5, 6 years ago, I was taking a role to help put cabinets in a shelter in Ellis County. And what I learned really quickly was we don't have a shelter. We don't have that resource available. And so that was really alarming to me and my family of really what would our family have done if they needed somewhere to go in an emergency? What would they do? So we decided, well, maybe we should build a shelter. And I started getting involved and learning about all the incredible organizations we have in the county. And my husband, being Fort Worth PD, said, "There's an amazing facility in Tarrant County you should check out." And so I went over there. It's called One Safe Place. They're a part of the same national alliance that the Heights is a part of. And so when I walked in there, and what happens when people walk into the Heights is you get immersed in a completely different experience of wraparound resources. You have multiple agencies who have co-located to help reduce all the barriers and how difficult it is. And so I immediately was like, this is this is the best practice. This is how you help families in need. So our vision got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we decided we needed to build a family justice center. And we knew that that was something we didn't have fully understanding, so we joined this national alliance. So we have what is the best practice around the world. So we know, hey, this is how a community similar to ours has built this. Or, if I have questions, I can reach out to that net of other directors and other centers and say, these are the challenges we're facing. What do we do when we don't have this or we need this? And we have all those resources. And so the Heights whole concept got connected to this national organization, and we have incredible partners, even here locally. There are 4 active family justice centers in the state of Texas, and we all link up and meet quarterly. And there are, I think, 4, maybe a little more in development right now.
Wow. I like one of the things, and I had shared with you that when I was young, very young, I remember we had to go to a shelter. There was a bad thing that happened, and my mom had to take 2 little boys into a shelter, and it was very different in the 80s. I mean, it was very different, but it was I remember that. That's like one of those memories of all the memories in the world. You remember when you had to go there and what that experience was like. Um, One, like you had pointed out, that there wasn't those things, those resources before. When somebody walks in, men can be abused as well. That it can be for both, but I'm gonna generalize. A lady walks in, and I actually sent somebody your way, but a lady walks in and says, "Look, I've been abused. I'm trying to get out of this." What's that first step? What does that look like when they walk in?
Yeah, so we get clients who, just like you said, walked straight in, or they can go to our website. There's a Get Help link. We get a lot of people who come to us that way, or through referrals, through friends, police department. So we get them connected to one of our case managers. They're going to go through a intake process where we do a risk assessment from Johns Hopkins University to understand their risk of lethality. And that really helps us to determine what kind of safety plan and what kind of service plan they need. Every client gets an individual plan, and it's driven completely by the client. This is their story. This is their journey. They are the expert of their life. It is not our job to be a part of the power and control that they're dealing with. That's not our role. Our role is to support them and walk alongside them, help them to set goals, help them to navigate pathways, and help them be motivated to do those things, because they have to want it and they have to do it, but we're here for them. And so, they can come here and get everything from counseling services. They can meet and get spiritual support. We have Job Corps on site, lots of really interesting services. Like we have a mock courtroom to prep for if they have to go to court. We've got a salon and a boutique so they can make an appointment, go get those services, get ready to go to not only court, but job interviews. And the longer that they seek services with us, they can continue to come back to that boutique and build a professional wardrobe, help really launch them into what they need. And that's just a few of those services. We have now 15 on site partners.
Wow.
So there's tons of available services. They even have a food pantry that Manna House is stocking for us in our second building, so they can walk away with the most basic things they need. We don't want any of those barriers. We're we're trying, and I'm trying as leading this organization. We've been blessed with 11 and a half acres, and we are going to grow. And I want every bit of that to be driven by what do these survivors and their families need? And how do we get that here so that they don't have to go place to place? They don't have to be sent referrals and handed off. We don't want to reduce all of those barriers for them.
Now, when you from what you've seen, when they show up, are those kind of the needs, everything from jobs to courtroom? Is that kind of the needs that you've identified, or it just varies from every
It
person?
it varies a lot. Some of the high level ones we see are counseling. All of them, almost all of them. Lots of them need legal services, which is really challenging because one of the things that about the Heights is we want our services to be no cost to clients. And so legal services is a really hard one. So we've been trying to build bridges and partnerships to help get some low cost or pro bono work for them. And there's some good legal services we've been able to connect to. But then also housing. Housing's a huge need. And we are building a shelter at an undisclosed location, but we won't have that open until about the end of the year, maybe first of next year. And so we are currently working with getting them connected either in a hotel for emergency services or partner agencies. We have some really great transitional programs for housing in our county. And we now have a housing coordinator who's building out a really robust service offering so that, again, tailored to the client. We want them to make that decision. Where do they go? What city is that in a transitional, 3 to 6 months? Is that in more of a permanent 12 to 24 months? We want them to make those decisions.
For those that may be in that situation and are watching, I imagine that when they decide to make this brave step, um, they're afraid of privacy concerns. They're afraid of, maybe this person finding out where they're at. How does the Heights handle that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We are highly confidential. It's very important. That's probably the very first thing we sit down with every client is explain to them that this is confidential and this is their story. And so they have privilege when they talk to us, and they get to decide, even among our partner agencies, who gets included and who doesn't. That is completely up to them. And so that varies from client to client how comfortable they are. And really, what ultimately we want is to build trust with them. And we may have to earn that. That's fine. We have no problem earning that. But we want to walk alongside them so that they understand their safety is our top priority. Safety and hope is what we want to lead them towards ultimately.
One of the concerns that maybe a mother escaping a domestic violence, one of the concerns, obviously one of the biggest concern is their children. And what happened, like no parent wants their kid taken away from them. So I'm sure you're going to see a scenario where a lady walks in and the kid was abused. What happens there?
Yeah, so if we know the kid is directly abused, we have the most amazing child advocacy center in this county.
Mhm.
And so we work hand in hand with them, and they are experts at this. That is their lane. And so we will always defer to making sure that law enforcement, CPS is involved to help get those needs of those kids. What we want to do is be a support structure for the family. So, if the child advocacy is working with them, we are extending a partnership to say we can also walk alongside that mom and those kids, or that dad and those kids. There's also another side of dealing with our kids are the ones that are witnessing it. So they don't have a direct CPS or police report. And so we are leaning in really hard to those kiddos. Statistics are crazy. So we know that 1 in 3 women experience intimate partner violence in their lifetime, and 1 in 7 men. We also know that 3 out of 4 kids repeat it. To me, that is like a tsunami statistic coming at us, that 75% of the kids who are in these households are going to repeat that cycle. And so if we're not leaning into that issue, we are missing it. We are completely not focused correctly to break those generational cycles. So we have pretty robust programming, again, from that national lens. Camp Hope America is a partner of our national alliance. And so we have what we call pathways. And those are monthly events that we build relationships with these kids and their families, their guardians. And then we also take kids once a year to Camp Hope. And it's a fantastic week where we dig into really good curriculum that teaches them things like coping skills in real time. Those mindfulness every morning we do is practical that they can take home, they can take to school, they can do in their chair, they can do in their room, in their bathroom, that helps ground them. It helps pull their mind back to the present and not let them go spiraling. And then we really dig into learning these kiddos and their character strengths and championing them. And it's just phenomenal to walk alongside these families. But really important that we're digging into this next generation.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that you mentioned that because it does become generational, and it's a cycle that keeps on going and going and going. Where and unfortunately, men may repeat that actions that they saw their dad do, or women bear down with the stuff that maybe their mom bared down with. There's so many dynamics to that abuse. So. Do you have like or does and you were talking about Ellis County Child Advocacy Center? I've had them on. They're a great organization, but do you have like those kind of forensic, because when you're interviewing kids about different crimes and stuff, or it has to be a different setting, folks. It can't be like the first 48 interview room. It's got to be different. Do you have that going on with the Heights?
Yeah, so they're soft interview rooms, right? So there's what we would refer to as session rooms, and they're much more like a living room setting. It's comfortable, it's welcoming. We do work with law enforcement. So if we have a client who needs to connect with a law enforcement agency, instead of us sending them out to a police station, we can request that those officers come to the Heights and meet with them in one of the session rooms. And it's been a beautiful partnership across the county. We have had unbelievable like acceptance and willingness from all of our law enforcement to lean in to being client centered and meeting here just like they would for those kids for child advocacy. And so we're just bridging that. What are we doing for the adult victims that's very similar to what they're doing?
Yeah, I saw Chief Smith at the opening. I know that you guys are building a relationship with Midlothian PD and the different PDs in this area. It kind of has to be that way in these things. Um, how's it? What is the biggest need that your organization is facing right now?
I mean, funding, unfortunately, is an ongoing need. And as we have grown so rapidly, one of the things that I love about the Family Justice Center model, but poses some challenges to us, is all of our partners who are on site, they don't have a cost associated. So I'm not charging leases or anything like that. So I'm not drawing any funding, but I'm also taking on some their overhead, right? So we can all co-locate, we can make that happen. And I want all of their efforts and their fundraising to go directly to clients so that we are giving as much services at no cost to anybody who needs us. But what that means for me operationally is we have grown so rapidly. We've gotten to be a big service. And so we really do need financial support just to keep our operations ongoing. Especially heading into opening a 24-hour shelter. That's going to be a whole nother realm of services similar to police and fire and EMT and hospitals that, you can't close. You don't close those things. And so we have to function at that level. So we really just need that kind of extra support. Also, then just the awareness. So I'm so appreciative of you having us on the show because um, what I try to tell people is domestic abuse is not a fun topic to talk about, right?
No.
And when I go and talk to people, I'm like, I'm not trying to say this is something you were dealing with or you're going to have to deal with. However, what I have learned is our referral process usually happens because somebody confides in somebody. And I want that somebody that they confide in to know about the heights. So when they finally decide, I need to reach out and tell someone, that someone knows about us. They've heard about us, they've learned about us, and they make a direct referral to us. That's so important. And so I really need the community as a whole to understand who we are and what we're doing. We had a crazy, tremendous luncheon last October and had wonderful attendance from the community. And we're doing it again this October on the 16th at the Waxahachie Civic Center. And it's a great opportunity for the community to come out and hear all about us so that they would know exactly what we do, who our partners are, be able to make any referral and have an educated conversation about everything going on at the Heights.
Ma'am, if there's any way I can help you in that and spreading the word with that, please let me know. The Ellis Talker Show supports your cause 1 billion%. When somebody, how does somebody give to the Heights? And
Yeah,
does it have to be monetary? Is there other ways they could give? Talk to me about that how we can do that.
sure. Yeah, there are tons of ways you can give to the Heights. And so, probably the best way to get connected to us for giving is through our website. And there's a link on there where you can donate. So if it's a financial gift, it's right there. It'll walk you through the process. But there's that get help button. And that get help button is not just exclusively for if you need something, that is a way to connect to us. So you can click that and send us an email and say, hey, I'd love to get involved. I'd love to volunteer. We have a whole plethora of volunteer needs right now. We have a kids area that we need volunteers who are going to go through background checks and screenings and be able to hang out and love on kids. We have our front desk security. If you're someone who, is retired and you have some security background and you're willing to go through that background and screening and come do a little, simple training with us and be able to learn, okay, how can I fill in here? How can I be available? We do have our boutique, so we're always accepting women's professional clothing, accessories. We have our salon, so products for things like that. And just as things come up, I mean, our kids programming, camp, giving to send kids, sponsor them to camp. There's just tons of different ways in which you can get involved.
You have this safety and hope video. What is that about? And there, do you
Yeah,
see the screen?
so it's it's about our survivors, and so there's a couple of really great videos. If you'll go on our website after this and watch one, you can hear some of our own survivors telling their stories. We also have camp video from last year, under that, probably under the children's. I would assume it's under there. And then our information about our luncheon, the Power of We luncheon, we would love for you to click on those and get involved. It's going to be a fantastic event. We also have a YouTube channel. So if you search on YouTube, The Heights Ellis County, all of our videos are on there.
That is great. Is there a story that sticks with you, Jennifer? That
There's
really,
so many.
when you think about what you're doing here, this is there one story that comes to mind? You're like, man, this is the reason, God, this is the reason.
Man, there's incredible amount of stories, not only just my personal family of what we've walked through, but through the Heights specific. There's a family that we've been walking alongside for a long time now, a couple years, and have gotten the privilege and honor to just literally become part of their family. We have one of their kiddos actually now painting a mural at the Heights for us. So it's been just full circle to see that, there's not a them and us, there is a we. It is not when clients come to our center, like they're among us. What we know is it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, it doesn't matter your race. Domestic abuse impacts all of us equally. So there is no like, just because we work here doesn't mean there's this huge difference between us and the people who need services. We are no different. We are just serving and being willing and working in this field. And so I think that's been really cool to see this beautiful community of people who are literally just walking life together. And so that's one of the main reasons why our luncheon coming up, we focus on the power of we, because it's a partnership among all these different agencies, among our own staff, and even with all of our clients and their kids. It's a collective, we can do this together. And it's just beautiful.
I love that. I do love that. Very few people get to say that they make a difference in life, that they do good for society, that they bless people, and you're doing that. You get to say that, that you're making a change. That you're doing something beautiful, and
Thank
this
you.
this this
I
high.
appreciate that. And I mean, I would say, I'm humbled to hear that, but I also would love to challenge that that's an invitation to anybody listening. Like, this is our community, and you have an opportunity with what is happening right now to get involved in something that is a legacy to this community, to provide services for people that we've never met, that long after we are all gone, this will remain and sustain, just like those police and fire and all these other services. This is an investment in the community that you can be a part of. And we've had the most incredible amount of amazing people already joining and linking arms with us and saying, yeah, yeah, we're in. We're going to invest our time, we're going to invest our money, our resources. And I mean, literally day after day, I get the privilege to sit here and watch the outpouring of this community and meeting needs, being a part of Care Portal and responding to requests that we have that, connect our society to the needs that are happening. And so I really just would love to invite others to be a part of that. If you're not already, there's so many who already are, and we're so appreciative for the people who are already walking along and supporting us.
Um, I want to make sure that I get as many your links or phone numbers or anything that I want to post it all with the show. But on my show, I give the guest the last word, so I'm gonna shut up and give it to you.
Yeah, I think, I every time I speak to anybody, I always want to acknowledge that there could be somebody who's listening, watching, that this may be something you're struggling with and dealing with. And, you are stronger than you think. You are braver. You can do this. And we would love to be a part of that support system. And for you to be able to reach out to us, go to our website, click that get help. We have a hotline number. It's 469 672 6494. And we would be so honored to walk alongside and help be that support system for you.
If you guys need help, make sure you reach out. I mean, be strong, ladies, men, whatever. Reach out, get help. Don't let it get to the worst that can happen. Uh, again, it was an honor to have you on. Can you stick around after the show for a second?
Sure.
Thank you.